Hey guys, what is up? So today we're going to be comparing this bootleg versus authentic Neptunia Purple Heart figure. Now, unfortunately, I could not get the bootleg box, so we're only going to be comparing the figures. Visually, this bootleg figure actually looks really good. There's just one major functional flaw with this, and that is it does not include the magnet. So one of the things you may be noticing is that the bootleg figure is a little bit off-centered, and that's only because I had to do this crazy balancing act to get her to stay on the picture frame without falling over. If I bump this a little bit, she's going to collapse. Now also, the frame stand, it has a little bit of trouble holding itself up as well. Between those two things, it's really hard to get this thing to stand upright. And it's completely impossible to hang it on the wall. That is one of the other purposes of this, is to also be able to hang it on the wall. So it's got a little hook for hanging, and then it also has the stand to stand it up like a little picture frame. The biggest problem with this bootleg figure, not so much how it looks. It's one of the, like I said, one of the nicer looking bootleg figures I've seen, but in how it stands up. It just does not have the magnet to hold it in place, so she falls down pretty easily. Now, as with most bootleg figures, you will notice that she's not quite as detailed, her coloring is not quite as detailed, the sculpting's not quite as detailed, you'll see more seams, and so on and so forth. So like on her dress, you can also see it's very glossy. It's not supposed to be quite that glossy. There's a pretty bad seam in her dress behind her right leg. And there's also a seam and a blemish on the martini glass, whereas on the authentic, we don't have those blemishes. Obviously, the paint is a lot more detailed on the authentic figure versus the bootleg. We seem to be missing some highlights in the hair. And I had a bit of a problem with her dress. These little straps, now I'm going to be careful not to drop her. These little straps don't quite, the two straps going up, don't quite sit right. They're supposed to be draped over her arms and then onto the bed sheet, but I keep moving them and then they move right back again. Also, all of her bows are kind of pointing upward. Gravity's supposed to be pushing them downward towards the bed sheet because she's laying on the bed sheet, but all of her little bow straps are kind of pointing in the wrong direction on the bootleg. And you can see her skin, especially in her face, is just a little bit more glossy on the bootleg. It's supposed to be more matte, less gloss, but glossy in the eyes. She's got a lot of detail and gloss in her eyes and around her eyes on the authentic figure, but the bootleg is missing a lot of that detail. It's missing some of that gloss in her eyes. But overall, from a distance, it looks okay. It's just totally non-functional. If I tried to center this, she will fall. If I try to hang it on the wall, she will fall. If I bump the frame, it will collapse because the stand isn't quite right. There's something wrong with the hinge. It looks like the hinge is a little off kilter. It's also not centered. And so on the bootleg figure, you will notice the frame itself looks good, but there are some functional issues with it. And on the back, it is missing the copyright text. On the authentic figure, it does have the copyright text. So let me just show you real quick. This is the authentic figure. As you can see, we can stand her upright and almost tip her forward and she does not fall off. That's because she has a magnet in her body and on the frame to keep her stuck to the frame. Now, if I wanted to accomplish the same thing on the bootleg, I would probably have to use some hot glue or something to hold it in place without using like super glue, because you wouldn't want it to be permanent or anything like that. But if I try to rest her in position, there my frame collapsed. The stand doesn't quite like to stay up all the time, unfortunately. And then getting her to stick to the actual bed sheet, she does not. Even if I try to use the bootleg figure on the authentic frame, she will not stick. There she's kind of balancing, but she's not sticking on with her magnet. And obviously not sticking there. Now the authentic figure does stick to the authentic frame, and the authentic figure will stick to the bootleg frame. So there's definitely the metal or magnetic part inside the frame. It's just missing from the figure. And also this stand. It's very bad. It's not supposed to do this. You can see this one stops right there. Now let me try to balance this all again. I have to kind of catch her toe on I have to kind of catch her toe on the bed sheet to balance her. So yeah, would I recommend this bootleg? No, I would not. It looks nice, but I certainly would not recommend it unless you don't mind maybe gluing it and then possibly hanging it on the wall, or coming up with a different method for standing it up and attaching it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you later.